What's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. We're diving into something that's always kind of fascinated me, and honestly it's something I've experienced firsthand way too many times. Think about it. We all know that one person who's like brilliant and maybe they're good at their job, they can solve complex problems, and they seem to have stuff figured out, but then they make these mind-blowingly stupid choices in their personal life, or even with their finances or their relationships. Maybe it's even you. Maybe you're watching this thinking, yeah, I'm pretty smart, but I've made some really dumb decisions. And trust me, you're probably not alone on that. What's crazy is that research literally shows that being smart can make you more likely to make bad decisions in certain situations or different areas of your life. And today, I want to break down why this even happens, what's going on in our brains when we screw up, and how to actually make better choices. Because here's the thing, intelligence and good judgment are not the same thing, and understanding the difference might just save you from making some costly mistakes in your life. But like I said earlier, I think we all know someone in our life who can maybe solve technical problems that you threw at them. They make good money, everyone respects them, but this same guy keeps getting into relationships with people who were obviously using them, made terrible financial decisions, and would double down on choices even when it was clear that they weren't working. But how does that even happen? How can someone be so smart in one area and so clueless in another? So what I learned from actually diving into some of the research, smart people may be so good at reasoning that they can logically reach the conclusion they want rather than the correct answer. Read that again. Smart people are really good at using their intelligence to justify the decisions they already want to make, rather than actually finding the right answer. You see the Call of Duty campaign mission I'm playing, if I wanted to convince myself that running straight at them was a good idea, straight into the bullets, I could probably come up with some logical sounding reasons, with the element of surprise. Aggressive offense is the best defense. Whatever. But just because I could make it sound smart doesn't make it the right choice. Smart is a measure of intelligence and not a measure of judgment. Good judgment is the application of knowledge, sophistication, and intelligence. And intelligence is your processing power. Judgment is knowing how to use that processing power. You can have a powerful computer, but if you're running the wrong software, you're going to get garbage results. And I think the biggest trap that smart people will fall into is overconfidence. The overconfidence bias is a tendency that people have to be more confident in their own abilities than objective facts would justify. It's overestimating our knowledge and abilities in a certain area. And if you're used to being right about things, and when people come to you for answers, and when you succeed in certain areas, your brain is going to start assuming that you're right about everything. And I see this all the time working with people. Someone will be incredibly knowledgeable about their field, but then they'll make assumptions about psychology, relationships, or life decisions with the same confidence that they have in their area of expertise. But these are completely different domains that require different types of thinking. And there's some people that are really good at reasoning, and that sounds like a good thing, right? But here's the problem. If you start with the wrong premise, or if you want a specific outcome, you can use your reasoning skills to build a very convincing argument for almost anything. It's like being really good at building. If someone gives you bad blueprints, you're going to build a structurally perfect building that's completely wrong for what you need. Your skill at building actually makes the problem worse because you build the wrong thing really well. And it's shown that average intelligence people are more likely to say I don't know or seek advice. Smart people think they can figure it out themselves, and often they can, but not always and not in every domain. And the issue with the overconfidence is that it'll make you vulnerable to every other mental trap your brain can fall into. And the second major trap is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is a tendency to look for information that supports rather than rejects, typically by interpreting evidence to confirm existing beliefs while rejecting conflicting data. And smart people are really good at pattern recognition and connecting dots, but this same skill can work against you when you're trying to prove yourself right instead of trying to find the truth. And there's been a lot of times in my life where I was convinced that a particular approach to something was the right way to go, and every piece of information I came across, I interpreted through the lens of confirming my existing belief. But when people presented counter evidence, I found ways to dismiss it or explain it away. And I wasn't being intentionally dishonest. I genuinely believe I was being logical and objective, but I was using my intelligence to build a case for what I had already believed rather than actually evaluating the evidence. And when we make decisions, we might rely on information that is most readily available, which isn't always comprehensive or accurate. And we have a tendency to seek and focus on information that confirms existing beliefs while ignoring contrary evidence. Smart people are particularly good at this because they can find sophisticated ways to dismiss contradicting information, and they can poke holes in studies, find exceptions to the rules, or come up with complex complex explanations for why the evidence doesn't apply to their situation. It's a lot like when I'm playing zombies. If I decided that camping in one spot was the best strategy, I could probably find ways to justify it even when it's clearly not working. I just need better weapons. The spawns are just bad right here. This strategy works in theory. Meanwhile, I'm getting overwhelmed because I'm not adapting to what's actually happening. But something that took me way too long to understand was that most decisions are emotional, even when we think that they're logical. And smart people are really good at creating logical sounding justifications for emotional decisions. We tell ourselves we're being rational, but often we've already made up our minds based on how we feel, and then we use our intelligence to build a case for that decision. I've seen this in relationships, career choices, financial decisions. People make a choice based on fear, desire, comfort, ego, and then construct elaborate, rational explanations for why it was a smart thing to do. And I've seen smart people be vulnerable to the idea, I've already invested so much time, money, or effort into this, I can't quit now. They can build very convincing arguments for why continuing down a bad path is actually a logical choice. But the reality of it is that the time, money, or effort you've already spent is gone regardless of what you do next. The only question that matters is, what's the best decision going forward? And with time and use, the brain develops preferential pathways for information processing, decision making, and action. The more we do anything, we alter our brains and become better at it, including patterns of thought that contribute to poor decision making. Smart people often overthink decisions that should be very simple. They analyze every angle, consider every possibility, and create complex decision-making frameworks. And sometimes the obvious simple choice was the right one all along. It's like spending 10 minutes analyzing the perfect route through this campaign mission, but sometimes you need to stop thinking and start moving. Another major trap for smart people I came across was called the expertise curse, and assuming that being smart or knowledgeable in one area makes you smart in all areas. A brilliant engineer might assume they understand psychology. A successful businessman might think they know how to handle relationships. A straight A student might believe they figured out how life works. But intelligence doesn't transfer across domains as much as we think it does. The skills that make you great at math don't automatically make you great at understanding people. The knowledge that helps you succeed in school doesn't necessarily prepare you for the real world decisions. And I feel like the more expert you become in your field, the more you start to see everything through that lens. And I've seen it happen with myself, with my own job, working with addicts. If you're really good with numbers, you might try to quantify everything. If you're great at logical analysis, you might underestimate the importance of intuition or emotions. It's like being really good at one weapon in this game and then trying to use it for every single situation. Although that does work for Call of Duty sometimes. But just because I'm great with a sniper rifle doesn't mean I should try to use it in close quarters combat. And sometimes smart people will plan ahead. They make detailed logical plans, but underestimate how long things will take, how much they'll cost, or what obstacles they'll face. They focus so much on the logical structure of their plan that they ignore the messy realities of the execution. But real life doesn't follow neat logical frameworks. People are irrational, circumstances change, unexpected things happen every day. The smartest plan in the world can fall apart if it doesn't account for human nature and uncertainty. So how do we avoid these traps? How do you use your intelligence to make better decisions instead of more sophisticated mistakes? And number one would be separate intelligence from ego. Stop tying your self-worth to being right all the time. Being wrong about something doesn't make you less intelligent, it just makes you human. The smartest thing you can do is admit when you don't know something. And number two, actively seek discomforting evidence. Instead of looking for information that proves you're right, actively look for the information that proves you wrong. Ask yourself, what would have to be true for my position to be incorrect? And number three, get perspective from others. Smart people often try to make decisions in isolation, but other people can see blind spots that you can't. It's always nice to have a second brain in the equation. Find people who will tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. And number four, recognize when you're rationalizing. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. If you find yourself coming up with increasingly complex explanations for why your position is right, you might be rationalizing rather than reasoning. And number five, use systems and not just smarts. Create decision-making systems that protect you from your own bias. Set criteria in advance. Use checklists. Establish cooling off periods for major decisions. And number six, remember that emotions matter. Don't try to make purely logical decisions about your emotional situations. Emotions provide important information about what matters to you. The goal isn't to eliminate emotions from decision making, it's to be honest about their role. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Being smart is a tool, but like any tool, it can be used well or poorly. Your intelligence can help you make better decisions, or it can help you make more sophisticated mistakes. The choice is yours. The difference comes down to humility, self-awareness, and understanding the limits of what your intelligence can and cannot do for you. I've made plenty of terrible decisions in my life, and I'll probably make more. But understanding these psychological traps has helped me catch myself before making some really costly mistakes. It helped me be more honest about when I'm being logical versus when I'm just being stubborn. Intelligence without wisdom is just sophisticated foolishness. And wisdom starts with recognizing that being smart doesn't make you immune to being wrong. If you're someone who considers yourself intelligent, and you probably are if you're watching videos like this, use that intelligence to be more honest with yourself, not just more convincing to yourself. So thank you for watching, guys. If this made you think about some of your own decision-making patterns, let me know in the comments. Have you caught yourself falling into any of these traps? Drop a like if this video was helpful. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.